Chrisean. Here. Come on, get out of here. Come on. Come on. I don't want to be famous no more, bro. I don't want to be but I'm just trying to get I'm sorry, bro. Alright, but you get this on camera. I'm sorry, bro. I'm not trying to disrespect you, my most fuck the camera. Yeah, fuck the camera. But you need the camera for some reason. I don't. I've been willing to leave. From the you don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me! Don't touch me! They not fighting around me! We don't like it! Don't touch me, bro! Don't touch me, bro! We're not having enough for myself. Hey, Pop! This girl, we're not playing on the ground. Bro, escort her out the fucking house. What? Go in! What? You just put me out the house. Get out the water! And that's how I felt when I was out there. Felt like not myself. I felt like I was never pretending. I felt like I was protecting.
Nobody was ready for this. Not the fans, not the internet, and definitely not Chrisean Rock, because what started as a casual sit-down interview turned into something so dark, so reckless, and so unhinged that it made reality TV look like a Disney Channel special. 1 minute, the ex is smiling for the camera, acting calm and healed, and the next minute, the tone shifts so hard it's like somebody unplugged the lights and whispered, "Let's burn it all down." This wasn't just an interview. This was a slow-motion car crash with Wi-Fi, the kind where you keep watching even though you know it's about to get worse. And when the words finally left his mouth, the internet collectively froze, refreshed their feeds, and said the same thing at once. Wait, did he really just say that? Chrisean didn't just hear the interview, she felt it. The reaction wasn't loud at first. No screaming, no instant clapback, just stunned silence. The kind that says, "I did not expect you to go there, and trust me," when someone who survived chaos looks shocked. You know the chaos has leveled up. This got dark fast, not metaphorically, not dramatically. Dark like screenshots are being saved and lawyers are being texted dark. And once you hear what was said, you'll understand why this moment may have permanently changed how the public sees everyone involved. The reason this interview detonated the internet isn't because it existed, it's because of how it unfolded. Everyone thought this would be one of those predictable redemption arcs where an ex suddenly discovers therapy buzzwords and pretends accountability tastes good now. Instead, what viewers got felt more like a calculated character assassination wrapped in soft lighting and a microphone. The relationship between Chrisean and her ex was never calm, never subtle, and never private. It lived online, breathed through Instagram lives, and exploded on timelines like clockwork. Fans didn't just watch the chaos. They memorized it, they debated it, they picked sides like it was a championship sport. So when this interview was announced, the audience expected recycled drama, not a full-blown rewrite of history. At first, everything seemed normal. The ex leaned into the familiar tone of "I've been through a lot." The voice was measured, the posture relaxed, the delivery almost rehearsed. He spoke about pressure, fame, misunderstandings, and how the internet only sees what it wants to see. It was textbook image repair, nothing spicy, nothing new, just enough to keep viewers listening while their guard stayed down. Then the conversation drifted, not accidentally, but deliberately. The interviewer nudged toward the relationship, and instead of deflecting, he leaned in. That's when the temperature dropped. He stopped generalizing and started narrating. Details appeared, dates, emotions, situations that were never supposed to leave private memory and enter public record. And this is where the shift became impossible to ignore. He didn't describe arguments as mutual. he framed them as one-sided. Storms, he didn't speak about mistakes as shared responsibility. He spoke like a man delivering a closing argument to a jury he was certain would side with him. The tone wasn't reflective anymore. It was accusatory. What made it darker wasn't just what he said, but how comfortable he seemed saying it. There was no hesitation, no pause to reconsider, no maybe I shouldn't go there. It was like the decision had already been made long before the cameras rolled. This wasn't a slip. This was a strategy. He painted Chrisean as unpredictable, unstable, and emotionally explosive, while positioning himself as the exhausted survivor of chaos. The contrast was sharp, almost cartoonish. It felt less like honesty and more like a character sketch written to trend, and the internet picked up on it immediately. Clips began circulating within minutes, not hours, minutes. The moment the interview crossed that invisible line, accounts started screen recording like it was breaking news. Comment sections turned feral. Some viewers nodded along, others recoiled, but everyone agreed on one thing. This wasn't the interview they were promised, and while the internet was busy arguing, Chrisean was watching, or at least she was hearing about it. And here's what made her reaction so powerful. There was no instant explosion, no immediate rant, no chaotic live, just silence. The kind of silence that makes people more nervous than yelling ever could, because Chrisean is known for reacting loud. When she doesn't, it means something hit deeper than anger. It means shock. It means disbelief. It means someone crossed a line she didn't expect them to cross publicly. As the interview continued, the ex doubled down. He didn't soften his language. He escalated. He hinted at things without fully saying them, which somehow made it worse. It was the verbal equivalent of lighting a match and walking away slowly while pretending you didn't start the fire. Fans noticed the pattern instantly. This wasn't about closure. This was about control of the narrative, about reshaping public memory, about making sure that when people think of that relationship, they hear his version first and loudest. And the timing was suspicious. Chrisean had been rebuilding her image, focusing on growth, motherhood, and stability. She wasn't trending for chaos anymore. She was trending for change. And right as that narrative started gaining traction, here came the interview like a wrecking ball with a podcast mic. People started asking the uncomfortable question out loud. Why now? Why say this here? Why this much detail? And once that question landed, the tone of public reaction shifted again. Sympathy for him began to fracture. Skepticism crept in, because when someone keeps bringing up the past only when the other person moves forward, it stops feeling like healing and starts feeling like sabotage. By the end of the interview, the damage was already done, not just to Chrisean's reputation, but to his own image as well. What was meant to make him look calm and honest started to make him look bitter and calculated. The more he talked, the more viewers questioned his motives, and Chrisean, she stayed quiet, which only made the tension thicker. Fans refreshed her page. Comment sections filled with respond and say something, but she didn't, and that silence became the loudest part of the story, because everyone knows when Chrisean finally speaks, it won't be accidental, it won't be careless. And after hearing what was said in that interview, the internet knew something was coming. Not a meltdown, not a rant, something colder, something sharper. This interview didn't just reopen old wounds. It reframed the entire saga. It turned a messy past into a public trial. And the scariest part wasn't what was revealed. It was the realization that this might only be the beginning. The moment the interview clips escaped the original platform, the situation stopped being controlled. It didn't belong to the ex anymore. It didn't belong to the interviewer. It belonged to the internet, and the internet does not do mercy. Within hours, timelines looked like a digital riot. Half the crowd was dissecting every sentence like it was courtroom evidence, while the other half was busy turning the most uncomfortable moments into memes that traveled faster than facts ever could. Oh? Knee clip in particular became gasoline. The tone of his voice, the pause before he spoke, the way he smiled right before dropping a statement that clearly didn't need to be said out loud. That moment got looped, slowed down, captioned, and reposted so many times that even people who never followed the drama suddenly felt like experts. This wasn't gossip anymore. This was pop culture CPR keeping an old scandal alive. And then came the reactions, not from random accounts, from verified names, influencers, commentators, people who live off engagement, but know when something feels off. Some try to stay neutral, using phrases like both sides have trauma, while clearly leaning back from fully defending him. Others weren't subtle at all. They called the interview unnecessary, cruel, and suspiciously timed. That's when the comparison game started. Viewers began pulling up old footage, old lives, old screenshots, old interviews, lining them up side by side like a conspiracy board made of ring lights and broken trust. The internet loves receipts more than apologies, and suddenly everyone was rewatching moments they had ignored before. What made this phase explosive wasn't just outrage, it was contradiction. Statements from the interview didn't align perfectly. With past clips, timelines felt fuzzy, details felt selectively sharpened, and once the crowd smelled inconsistency, the tone shifted from reaction to investigation. Memes evolved from jokes to commentary. One viral post compared the interview to a Netflix true crime episode where the suspect talks just a little too confidently. Another joked that the ex was auditioning for sympathy but forgot the audience had a memory longer. Then a TikTok loop. Savage humor, yes, but humor with a point. Meanwhile, Chrisean still hadn't spoken, and that silence began to work against him. Because when one person is talking nonstop and the other isn't talking at all, the audience starts wondering who's actually uncomfortable with the truth. Speculation exploded. Some believed she was being advised to stay quiet, others believed she was letting him hang himself with his own words. Either way, her absence from the noise created space for doubt to creep in. And doubt is dangerous when you're trying to sell a clean narrative. Then came the indirect reactions, friends, associates, people who knew both sides, but never said much before, subtle posts, cryptic captions, side-eye emojis that didn't name names but didn't need to. The message was clear. Not everyone was buying what that interview was selling. At the same time, supporters of the ex doubled down. They reframed criticism as hate. They accused viewers of ignoring male vulnerability. They insisted this was finally his moment to speak. But even within that defense, cracks showed. Because defending someone doesn't mean endorsing every word they choose to say publicly, and some of his loudest supporters went quiet once the darker clips circulated. This is where the story took another turn. The interviewer started getting heat too. People questioned the framing, the lack of pushback, the way certain statements were allowed to linger without challenge. Suddenly, it wasn't just about what was said, it was about why it was allowed to be said so comfortably. And as the outrage grew, so did the reach. News blogs picked it up. Commentary channels broke it down frame by frame. Reaction videos stacked up like dominoes. Everyone had a take, but no one could ignore the underlying feeling that something about this whole moment felt manufactured. Chrisean's name trended again, but not in the way it used to. This time, people weren't laughing at chaos. They were questioning fairness. They were asking whether this was exploitation disguised as honesty. Whether a woman rebuilding her life had just been dragged back into public mess for clicks and sympathy points. Pop culture comparisons flew everywhere. People said this made old celebrity breakups look tame. Others joked that even reality TV producers would have edited this interview differently because it crossed into uncomfortable territory. And when the internet starts comparing your truth to bad television, that's not a win. Still, Chrisean stayed quiet, and that quiet started to feel deliberate, almost tactical, because while he kept trending for what he said, she was trending for not responding. And in the attention economy, mystery beats noise every time. By the end of this phase, the narrative was no longer about what he revealed, it was about why he revealed it the way he did. The sympathy he aimed for got diluted by skepticism. The clarity he promised got buried under conflicting receipts. And the audience began to sense that the interview wasn't closure at all. It was provocation. And the internet knows provocation when it sees it. Especially when it comes wrapped in a calm tone and a microphone. Because when the dust settled, one thing was undeniable. This story had grown bigger than the interview itself, bigger than either person involved. And whatever Chrisean chose to do next would decide whether this moment faded into meme history or exploded into something even messier. The audience leaned in closer. Not because they wanted more drama, but because they knew silence like this never lasts forever. By the time the internet finished tearing the interview apart, the damage was no longer hypothetical. It was measurable. Reputations don't crack loudly at first. They splinter quietly, one comment section at a time. And in this case, the shift was unmistakable. What began as an attempt to reclaim a narrative ended as a lesson in how fast control disappears once the audience stops believing you. The ex didn't just trend for telling his side. He trended for how he told it. The confidence that initially looked like honesty started reading as arrogance. The details that were meant to prove credibility started feeling excessive. Viewers began asking why someone who claimed to be healed sounded like they were still living rent-free in old arguments. Meanwhile, Chrisean's silence transformed from curiosity into power. The longer she didn't respond, the more intentional it felt. This wasn't avoidance, this was restraint. And restraint, especially from someone known for emotional fireworks, rebranded her overnight. She wasn't the chaotic headline anymore. She was the calm eye of the storm everyone else kept spinning. Public perception doesn't flip instantly, but it tilts, and once it tilts, gravity does the rest. Fans who once mocked her reactions started praising her composure. Critics who used to dismiss her as impulsive began admitting that staying quiet might be the smartest move she's ever made. Ironically, the interview that was supposed to expose her flaws ended up highlighting her growth. The ex, on the other hand, couldn't stop talking. Follow-up comments, social media posts, subtle clarifications that weren't clarifying anything. Each attempt to regain footing only deepened the impression that the interview wasn't cathartic. It was unfinished business masquerading as truth. And that's where consequences entered the chat. Brands don't comment publicly when they pull back. They just stop calling. Collaborations quietly stall. Opportunities get rescheduled indefinitely. When controversy smells intentional rather than accidental, it stops being edgy and starts being risky. And risk is the one thing endorsements avoid like a plague. Chrisean's image, surprisingly, benefited from contrast. While others debated her past, she stayed rooted in her present. Every post unrelated to the drama became a silent rebuttal. Every normal moment read like a statement. She didn't need to deny anything. The optics were doing the work for her. The public also began revisiting old moments with new eyes. Arguments that once looked mutual now looked uneven. Clips that were once dismissed as chaos suddenly carried context. This wasn't revisionist history, it was reframing. And reframing is dangerous when you've already locked yourself into a version of events on camera. What made this phase unsettling was how permanent it felt. Interviews don't disappear. Clips don't evaporate. Once something goes dark publicly, it stays dark forever. Every future explanation gets filtered through that moment. Every attempt at reinvention runs into the same wall of screenshots and screen recordings. The ex may have thought he was clearing the air, but what he actually did was fossilize a version of himself in the public mind, not as a victim, not as a villain, but as someone who couldn't let go without dragging someone else down with him. Chrisean, still silent, became the looming unknown, and the unknown is far more intimidating than a rant. Because when someone who has every reason to explode chooses not to, people assume they're saving something. Not receipts necessarily, leverage. Speculation turned quieter but heavier. Would she respond in an interview of her own? Would she drop a single sentence that recontextualized everything? Or would she never address it directly, letting the interview stand alone as its own indictment? Whatever the choice, one thing became clear. This saga wasn't ending cleanly. It was mutating, shifting from loud chaos to psychological fallout. From public arguments to long-term reputational scars, the internet moved on to the next headline, as it always does. But this one didn't fully leave. It lingered, like an unfinished sentence. Like a question nobody answered out loud. Every time either name popped up again, the shadow of that interview followed close behind. And that's the real aftermath nobody talks about. Not the trending hashtags, not the memes, not the reaction videos. It's the permanent association. The way one moment rewires how people interpret everything that comes after. This wasn't just an interview that went dark. It was a turning point. A moment where the audience stopped watching for entertainment and started watching for accountability. A moment where silence became louder than confession. And if history has taught the internet anything, it's this. When a scandal shifts from explosive to quiet, it's rarely over. It's just changing form. Because the darkest chapters don't always announce themselves. Sometimes they sit patiently, waiting for the next camera to turn on. If you made it this far, congratulations! You survived yet another internet meltdown that somehow made reality TV look underproduced. And if this story had you side-eyeing your screen, rewinding clips, or whispering, "Nah, that was wild," then do yourself a favor and smash that like button like it owes you money and keeps dodging your calls. Drop a comment right now and tell me this. Was that interview honesty? Or was it a calculated chaos grenade test for attention? Because the comment section is where the real trial happens. And I already know y'all are coming with screenshots, theories, and opinions that deserve their own documentary. And if you're not subscribed yet, fix that immediately. Hit subscribe like you just found out the internet lies every day. And this is the only place that breaks it down without sugarcoating a single second. Scandals don't sleep, celebrity mess never retires, and this channel stays on call 24/7. Turn on notifications too, because when the next interview drops, the next receipt leaks, or the next healed ex suddenly remembers everything on camera, you'll want to be here first. We don't chase headlines, we autopsy them. This story isn't over, not even close. Silence never lasts, receipts always resurface. And when they do, you already know where to find the breakdown before everyone else pretends they always knew. Welcome to Celeb Ruckus, where the drama is loud, the sarcasm is ruthless, and the truth is never convenient.